Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the top 16 deck lists for the latest online event hosted by Taya Beastie and the Pack and the Lorcana Play Network. This event was had $1,700 worth of prizes up for grabs. 186 players, so another big field. So data. As always, a huge thank you to Taya Beastie and all her team and everyone involved in the organisation of these online events. At time of recording, they are still playing top 16. I think they've actually moved into top 8 by this point, actually. But yeah, at time of recording, I don't know the final standings. So we're going to be going through the decks, judging by their final placements in Swiss, which I think is also just good information to see who did the best in Swiss. But later on, when I'm editing this, I imagine they will have finished by then, and then I will add an edit to the screen to let you know which decks, what the final placements were for those decks. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of events covered on the channel over the next few days. I actually competed in a winner case event myself at Dark Sphere in London. And I'm very pleased to say that I made my top 8. My second paper tournament, I was able to get that top 8 placement, which I'm very happy with. And we'll cover that a little bit later down the line on the channel, and I'll talk all about it. But I want to cover the bigger events first. So I want to take a look at this one. There was also an 8K at Charlie's collectible shows in the US, and that event, at time of recording, is still going on, and that event had 226 players. So I think those two events being much bigger are definitely what I want to cover first, but probably Tuesday, Wednesday I will get to covering the Dark Sphere event and talk about those lists, and I'll talk all about my run. But yeah, that's pretty much everything, so let's take a look at the lists. And don't forget that this channel is sponsored by Cardmarket. So go check out Cardmarket for all your trading card game needs. So let's assess the damage. The damage being how many Ruby Amethyst lists am I about to go through. Top 16 lists, we have 5 Ruby Amethysts, which I think is perfectly reasonable. This actually looks like a really healthy, diverse meta, a collection of different inks. So we're starting off in first place. Again, these are based on their the final placement after 9 rounds of Swiss. In first place, we have Nicholas with some EA tempo. Just win the game. There were people that complained. I wasn't expecting it, but people complained. So yes, our lone Emerald Amethyst tempo deck in the top 16. No others. Not a lot of Emerald in general, actually. But first place after Swiss. This deck did take it home, utilising Ursula, Deceiver of All. 3 cost, Inkable 2/3, quest for 1. When this character sings a song, you can sing the song again for free from your discard, then put it on the bottom of your deck. So take advantage of friends on the other side, which then becomes a draw 4, or 3 copies of Mother Knows Best to return up to 2 characters to the opponent's hand. Really disruptive, really offsets their tempo. We've got our 1 drops, we've got 2 copies of Chernobog's Followers, which that 2 damage is, it matters. It will check certain cards, and it's really diverse. You can either sit there and just quest if it's safe, or if you need to draw an extra card, thin that deck a little bit, then be my guest. We've got 4 Rafiki, who becomes a 3/2 when challenging. Ancient Skills is irrelevant, but another fantastic 1-drop being able to hit for 3. We love it, and of course 1-drop's important in general to get our bounce stuff online, like Snake and Fox. We've got 4 copies of Cursed Merfolk, 1-drop, uninkable, 0/1, quest for 2, and when they're challenged, the opponent discards a card, similar to Flynn Rider, who's a little bit more expensive. Inkable, bit of a better stat line, but cheaper is good. Cheaper, we likes cheap. We got 1 copy of Pinocchio, Talkative Puppet, to exert opposing characters. Really strong. I like you see pretty much every Amethyst list running this as a tech, either between a 1 and 3 count. Good for opposing Ursula, Deceiver of All. I think that's what really brought Pinocchio back into the meta. But I'll be honest, just touching slightly on my recent run, because I ran Ruby Amethyst with 2 Pinocchios, and he was good, but I didn't come up against a single Emerald deck, so there wasn't any time where I really needed it for the Ursula. But it would just put in a lot of work against pretty much everything. So yeah, big fan of Pinocchio. We got 4 Ursula to remove those songs, get rid of them swords, be prepared, things like or opposing friends and Mother Knows Best for the mirror. The Fox I've mentioned. 3 copies of Crab to make our characters stronger. Hitting bigger numbers is good for a lot of characters. characters, and for hitting those locations, 3 Maleficent for some extra draw. We've got 3 Kick Cloud Kicker to return a character with 2 strength or less to the player's hand. Again, just offsetting our opponent's tempo and stopping them playing the game the way they want to. We've got 4 Goat for the lore, 4 Rabbit for the draw. We've got 2 copies of Yzma to either bounce to say goodbye to opposing threats that just need to go, even if, yes, they're drawing cards, but sometimes some things just really got to go, or we can just bounce our own characters just to get ourselves a little draw bump. And 3 copies of the Queen's Castle, our location 4-drop inkable. 1 to move there, 7 willpower, and at the beginning of your turn, for every character there, you draw an additional card. My opinion on this card has regularly changed since its release. I still like it, and I still like it a lot in this deck. I don't think all Ruby Amethyst decks need to be playing it, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, I think it's still got a good place in this deck, and yeah, EA Tempo, yeah, definitely a deck that's been doing well, but maybe underperforming a little. And again, only one of this ink combination made the top 16, but first place, you got to give it to him. So congratulations to Nicholas. Going on now to second place, let's talk a little bit about Ruby Sapphire Lucky Pawp. So I mentioned this briefly in one of my last videos. The fact that when I was doing some games for Ruby Amethyst to get some footage for content, in an 11-1 run, my one loss was to basically this deck. But this was before I was seeing anyone playing Lucky Dive. It was not on the radar, at least not in top cuts or anything. If it had been in a top cut list, I would have seen it. So it was probably on some people's radar, but not from official data, and wasn't on mine. So when I lost that game to Lucky Dime Blue, I made a community post saying, I'll give a shout out to anyone that can guess what non-meta deck I lost to. And there are a collection of guesses. One of them was the correct guess, who I will shout out when I do that video showing those games. But yeah, literally, I put out that post, and then later on that, like the next day, Zephyr made a video where he was talking about Pawp, Pawp, but Lucky Dime, and then it's just popped up constantly since. I was like, okay, so I was wrong. I mean, at the time, it wasn't meta, because meta is what everyone's playing, and I don't think everyone was playing it at the time, but now there are enough people playing it that I definitely would call it meta. So yes, taking advantage of Ruby's removal options and Sapphire's ramp. So let's look at the items first. I always think that's the best place to start. We've got 4 copies of Pawp, which lets us draw a card, and healing the damage can be relevant. And of course, all our items are food for Flavisham, who removes an item when he enters play and quest to draw 2 cards. He's the drawing machine of this deck. Like, we have Develop Your Brain and we have Gaston, but yeah, in terms of like more than one card, Flavisham is it, so it works really well with him. Maui's Fishhook, one of my favourite new cards from set 3, 3-cost inkable. If you've got Maui on the field, you can use the effect for free. You still have to exert, you just don't pay the 2 ink, and then you choose one. Either chosen character gains evasion to the end of your opponent's next turn, or chosen character gets +3 strength. Really strong for taking out but Maui plus Fishhook takes out every location. McDuck Manor being the bulkiest, and again, just hitting these bigger numbers is good for characters that are smaller guys, just deal with more mid-range, high-range cards. Giving evasive is good to take out opposing evasive or just to be annoying ourselves. And again, we're just an item. 4 Fishbone Quill for accelerated ramp. And then yeah, the 1 Lucky Dime, 7-cost uninkable. Exert, pay 2, choose a character of yours and gain lore equal to their lore. So this deck playing a lot of characters with 2+ lore. The Tremaine, the Gastons, the Scars, and we got the 4 Tamatoa, 8-cost inkable, 5/8. Bulky, hits hard enough. When you play him and when he quests, you can return an item from your discard to your hand, and he gets +1 lore for each item you have in play. So I came up against this deck with Ruby Amethyst a couple of times in my Darksphere tournament, and yeah, it's annoying. Because if they've already got the Lucky Dime on the field, they can get down Tamatoa, and if they've got 2-3 items on the board and another 2 ink to play with, and they can immediately exert the dime and get value from his lore straight away, which can be +4 or 5. Playing it with Gaston is so strong. If we played the Lucky Dime first and then we put down Gaston, if we got at least another 2 ink, then we can immediately get lore from him, and then the following turn he's questing for 3 and then getting another 3 from the Lucky Dime if it's not immediately removed. So this deck really good. Also Scar here to help for locations, help for board clears, and again similar, like he's a 2 lore bumper, so it's going to work really well with our dime. 4 copies of Maleficent, of course, another character just to remove characters, and again 2 lore, so we can just bump immediately. 2 copies of the Tremaine here, and that's another nice lore bump. And we're still playing 3 copies of Madame Medusa. Still a lot of targets that we want to know that we can definitely take out, like Beast Tragic Hero. But yeah, for develop your brain for a bit more card draw or search for the key pieces you need. Just 3 be prepared, I think it's fine in this deck. For our earlier characters, we got 3 Queen of Hearts with Rush and 2/2 to help with aggro, and just because this deck does have a slow first couple of turns. We've got 2 Cruella de Vil here to help deal with evasive, 2 Grand Martala just for some additional ramp, 2 Minnie Mouse, which I think is like, again, we're an aggro deck. We can get immediate value from it with a Lucky Dime. And hey, if they don't have the evasive answers, then you can put in a lot of work. 2 Judy Hops for the mirror, and for the Ruby Amethyst decks that are pretty much now all playing spell books. So yeah, Judy Hops, like them drawing the card never feels great, but things like spell books just got to go. If you can get offset their Fishbone or their Lucky Dime again in the mirror, then yeah, really important. We talked about Flavisham, Maui, response card works with a fish hook, and yeah, that's pretty much, oh sorry, and 4 of course, McDuck Manor, big bulky location. If they don't have the answer, they don't have an active board, or at least a Maui's fish hook with a Maui ready to put down in response to it, then this card is going to create insane value. So yeah, this deck is very much now on everyone's radars. I keep complaining that I pulled nothing, but well, not nothing, but like the highest account of legendaries I pulled were Lucky Dimes and Milos. And I've got like 6 Lucky Dimes, and when I saw it was doing well, I was like, oh well, like, I don't expect it to get too much of a price bump because you only really play 1 or 2. But we'll have a look, and it's gone from £2 to £5, so I'm gonna flash the Lucky Dimes. Drinks are on me. But yeah, Ruby Sapphire looking really well. Like this, we have found the build now. Again, like some card count differences will change, and we've got a couple more to look at now in general. But yeah, deck's looking really good. So well done to Killian for making 2nd place in Swiss. Oh, there's only one more Ruby Sapphire, but we've got other Sapphire decks to look at with Steel, so there's more Dime than this. But yeah, this list opting to play a 2nd Lucky Dime, again, like it's situational, like it's uninkable, it's expensive, like if you draw it when you've not got much of a board going on, although to be fair, it's a comeback card. You want to see it, like if you're running this deck, you do want to see this Dime, so I do get the 2 count. This deck is running 2 copies of Heart of Tafiti, 3 cost inkable, exert, pay 2, put the top card of your deck into your inkwell, so just more ramp, but which doesn't take hand card count away from us, which again, this deck can struggle for card count unless it gets a Flavisham engine going for a couple of turns, which it can do realistically, and then that can just be enough draw. But if it doesn't, then you would want to prioritize this sometimes over something like Quill in the mid to late game if you don't have a lot of resources going on. Of course, the 4 Quill, the 2 Hook, the 4 Portugal. We're also seeing 1 copy of Magic Golden Flower, just to be an additional 1-drop item, which not only can be fed from Flavisham, but it's something else which, again, like Tamatoa is great in this deck. Like the amount of lore he can generate. Like if you can put him down a turn after Lucky Dime, and then you've still got 2 ink to immediately pay for the Lucky Dime. If that, like, say you've only got 3 items on the board, that's 4 lore on the turn you put him down, and then the following turn maybe you put down an extra lore. Okay, so now he's questing for 5, and then you Lucky Dime for another 5, so he can get like 14, 15 lore gain potentially only with 3 or 4 items. So yeah, really strong. Another reason why you do want to see this Dime. And yeah, just another item. And again, like the healing is not insubstantial. Like on Portugal, you can remove 2 damage. This removes 3. It's not insubstantial for things like we've got bulky characters like Tamatoa definitely, maybe Scar and Maleficent, and Flavisham have some health left. So yeah, not insignificant at all. The 2 Queen of Hearts, the 2 Tala, just 1 copy of Judy Hops. This deck playing the 4 Grand Martala, which is just a bit more card draw. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, 1 into your hand, 1 to the bottom of your deck. So yeah, help you find a piece, and just card draw is like, it's what this deck's lacking. Unless you get a Flavisham engine going, because Flavisham can just do all the work. 4 Maui, 4 Medusa, no Tremaine here, 4 Gaston, 2 copies of 1 Jump Ahead for some additional ramp. But yeah, again, some card count differences, a couple of different cards in general, but yeah, this deck's looking really well situated, so congratulations to Jeff. I told a lie, there was one more Sapphire Ruby deck in top 16. I don't know if this is Christopher. I've just copied the spelling from inkdex.com. But yeah, congratulations to them on a top 16. Their list a lot more similar to Jeff's that we just looked at. But this one making room for the McDuck Manor, which Jeff didn't. But the 2 Dime, the 2 Hearts of Tafiti, the 4 Fishbone, the 2 Maui's Hook, not playing the Magic Golden Flower here, the 2 Queen of Hearts. This deck, also the same as Jeff, the 4 Grand Martala, the 4 drop, although Christopher isn't playing the 2 drop. Christopher also isn't playing Judy Hop, so no item removal for them. 3 Medusa over the Tremaines, 4 Maleficent, the 2 Scars, the 3 Gaston, the big Tamato account, 4 Be Prepared, and all the way in on the 1 Jump Ahead. So yeah, very similar, some card count differences, but yeah, looks good. Congratulations to them. Going to top 4 now, we've got Constantine with some Steel Amber FluteSong, our lone FluteSong deck, I believe. Yeah, our only Steel Amber list in general, so great to see it doing well. So we've got 4 copies of Cinderella, who's a 1-drop, who can sing our 3-cost songs from turn 2, so cheap Bare Necessities, Let the Storm Rage On, Strength for a Raging Fire. Bare Necessities obviously being so important for sniping the Be Prepareds, the Grab Your Swords, because we want to spread nice and wide, and yeah, good for the mirror as well to get rid of the whole new world, so fantastic addition to the deck. Storm Rage On doing 2 chip damage and drawing a card, and Strength for a Raging Fire doing 1 damage for every character you have out. So we can hit some nice big numbers with this. And Cinderella can sing all of these nice and cheap, and she can shift into our Stout-Hearted Cinderella at a 2 count, who's a shift 5 and a 7-drop, 5/5, quest for 3, resist 2, and singing sword. Play a song, challenge ready characters, and again, lots of songs here. Let's finish off the songs. We got then along came Zeus. I am so tired, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I find the energy when I sit down and record, but I've barely slept for days. But yeah, we're doing our best. We're doing our best, lads. Yeah, 2 Along Came Zeus, 5 damage to chosen character or location. Diverse, great for, like, there are locations in format. And yeah, 5 damage takes out a lot of things that you would want to. So really strong. 4 Whole New World for the card refresh. I've been recently informed. I said that the reason we call it the wheel is because we're turning a wheel of, like, refreshing the card. Like, this is my hand. Let's... And then fresh 7. And the amount of comments... Actually, Baker, it's a Magic the Gathering thing. And while I will admit, not only are you correct, but that I didn't know that, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I knew that, because I didn't. But I am going to continue to use my analogy, because one thing I do know about my limited conversations with Ravensburger is they don't like terminology from other card games. So I don't think they would ever be okay with... commentary and official casting where it's being called the wheel if they think that's the reason. I know that's maybe not a great reason, but it's because of my thing. It's because we're turning a wheel, okay? Anyway, 3 copies to Grab Your Swords for the board spread, and again, we're still Amber Songs deck. We've got characters that are going to sing this nice and cheap, and then 2 Sleepy's Flute. If you play Exert, if you play the song this turn, gain 1 lore. Just 2 copies of it, which I think is fine. You could go higher, but yeah, plenty of songs here to hopefully get lots of advantage off of this. Go through the rest of our characters. We've got a 4/4 line of the Queen, who the 1-drop being a 2/2, and then the 5-drop you can shift for 2. So another like quick singer of a whole new world. Along Came Zeus, Grab Your Sort of all of our songs really. 4/3 stat line, quest for 2, and we can yeah, when she quests, 1 character gets a +4 strength on our side, 1 character gets a -4 strength on their side. So helping us control the board through battle. 4 Tragic Hero Beast for the extra card draw, at least we hope. And even if he is damaged and he becomes a 7/5 beat stick, then again, big beat sticks are good. But really, we want him for the card draw. And of course, these are singers of our 5-cost songs. We've got 5... Yeah, I missed the baby Robin Hood there for a moment. I thought we were just playing the Floodborn. Now, we are seeing a 4/4 line of Robin Hood. 1-drop being a 2/2. And the 5-drop, shift 3. So another cheap singer, or quick singer, should I say. Well, both is good. 3 sticks, 6 stat line. That 6 being important. Keeps him out of the Long Came Zeus range. Although the 3 strength keeps him in Madame Medusa. Madame Medusa range, which is unfortunate. But hey, he can't be perfect. It's a strong enough card as he is. Quest for 2 abilities. If he banishes a character, gain 2 lore. And if he has banished himself in a challenge, then you draw a card. So fantastic card. Lots of utility you can get through the stat line and the abilities. And again, the name of the game here is just to have nice like characters that can sing our songs nice and cheap. We got 4 copies of Mr. Smee, Bumbling Mate, 2 cost, inkable, 3/3, quest for 2. At the end of your turn, if you don't have a captain, then he takes 1 damage. We have no captains, and we do not care. It really doesn't matter. Questing for 2, 3/3 stat line on a 2-drop inkable is fantastic. And we've got 4 copies of Spectacular Singer Ariel. 3-drop inkable, 2/3, quest for 1, singer 5, so she's another character that can sing these songs really early, and she can help us find them with her musical debut. When you play her, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. 1 song goes into your hand, and the rest go onto your bottom of your deck in any order. Sucks to miss songs, but again, help us find songs, and the Steel Amber songs is... it has withstood the test of Lorcana meta. It's nearly always represented. Gone are the days where it's filling a lot of the spots. With I mean, Ruby Amethyst was filling most of the spots in Chapter 1. But there was a lot more tournaments where Steel Amber was at least, maybe just as many. Or at least getting a lot more top placements. Falling off a bit, I still think it's due to lack of pilots. I think if more people were playing this, we'd be, that's kind of like teaching you to suck eggs. If more people were playing this, you'd see it more. Well, of course you would. But you get my point. I think this deck is better than it's being represented, but it's great to see one deck making the top 4 of Swiss, and who knows, maybe it will go all the way. But yeah, I think I've covered all the cards, so yeah, congratulations to them. Right, let's move on to our Sapphire Steel wheel decks. First up, we've got Skylar, who is someone that we have covered before. They won the pack Merlin Strikes Back online tournament with 162 players, first place. So we will have looked at that deck. They played Sapphire Steel then as well. So yeah, congratulations to them on another great showing at these online tournaments, making top 4. So yeah, Sapphire Steel, touted by many as being best deck in format, but the most unforgiving to misplays. This deck also taking advantage of the Lucky Dime, two count of them, to work with the Gaston. Again, we got lots of characters that can benefit from this. We've got nothing that can get as high as Tamatoa, although we could play it, but this deck isn't. Not all in on an item count here. 4 Porpskull, 4 Fishbone Quill, which is enough just for your Flavisham engine, and then the Lucky Dime for the accelerated lore gains. So yeah, just a different engine as opposed to running with Tamatoa, but still, the synergy with Gaston, with Tink, with Beast, especially because Tink versus, if you're against other steel decks, you get this stalemate a lot of the time. So Lucky Dime going to help a lot there. But let's go to the beginning with 4 copies of Captain Hook to be our 1-drop, to be a character that can hit 3, which we've talked about a lot, is very important. 4 copies of Mr. Smee, who we just looked at, really strong. And again, we've got the captain, so maybe we can subvert his ability. We got 3 copies of Mickey Mouse. When you play him, the top card of your deck goes onto your Inkwell face down and exerted. So just ramp, ramp, ramp. Flavisham, the drawing machine. We got 4 copies of Cogsworth, who has ward, so he's difficult to remove. So it's something else that's going to, he's going to be a pain to deal with next to Lucky Dime. And Unwind, giving resist 1 to all of our other characters, so we love to see it. 4 copies of Beast, the 3 Gaston, as I said, again, some more card draw. I mean, we're playing whole new worlds in this deck, so we have other ways of drawing, and rotate, making sure we've constantly got resources, but this helping us find a key piece, and again, the synergy with Dime. 4 copies of Tinkerbell, doing 1 damage to everything when she enters play, everything on the opposing board when she enters play, and when she challenges and banishes something, you do another 2 ping damage. An MVP of Lorcana since the beginning of the game. 4 develop your brain to help find key pieces. We've got 2 copies of Rise of the Titans, banish chosen location or items, good for the Murdoch Manors, for the Lucky Dimes, for the Fishbone Quills, Sorcerer's Spell Books, the Queen's Castles, all that jazz. 2 Along Came Zeus. We're running 1 copy of Let It Go, which I think is a really good addition. Helps with for the stout-hearted Cinderella more than anything. Otherwise, that stout-hearted Cinderella is really hard to deal with, not playing it ourselves. And I do think this makes more sense than Hades, because you don't actually need Let It Go or Hades in this deck. It's just good to have for the stout-hearted. So playing the Hades just for that, although it will get use in other games occasionally, but you don't need it. But yeah, I think this makes more sense just because it's an inkable, and again, it's a 5-cost song, which we should be able to sing nice and easy. The 4 Whole New World, the 3 Grab Your Swords, the 4 Pawp. Yeah, I've already talked about the items. So yeah, Sapphire Steel, another fantastic showing, and there's a couple more to look at. So congratulations to Skylar on another top finish in the pack events. Next up, we've got Thomas, who's playing similar, couple of differences. We are seeing a 2 count of the Tamatoa in here. Item count, we've got the 4 Pawp, only 3 Fishbone Quill. This seems so important, and if you're running Tamatoa as well. But fair enough, 2 lucky dimes, so no bigger item package, so a smaller count of Tamatoa, but I'm sure it still provided value. The 4 Hook, the 4 Smee, the 3 Mitt, all this looks pretty much the same, only 2 Gaston. We're running the 2 Hades here as opposed to Let It Go, as we just discussed, which again, I think Let It Go is better, but Hades is still good, and he's another character with 2 lore that can benefit from lucky dimes, so it's not that he's bad by any stretch. We are seeing 2 copies of Stout-Hearted Cinderella, as we just talked about, like in the mirror. If they don't have things like Let It Go or Hades, this can be hard to deal with, and it's just a strong card. The 2 Rise of the Titans, we are finding room for 2 Smash for that early game. Good for Deceivers of All, Arthur's, Docs, things like that. 2 Strength of Raging Fire, 2 Zeus, 4 McDuck Manor. So yeah, a slightly different build. Less Fishbone Quill, I think is. I don't think I'd ever play less than 4 myself. I don't mind them finding room for 2 Tamatoa even with a limited item package though, because he recycles them anyway. So yeah, I think this is fine. But yeah, deck looks good. Congratulations to Thomas. Going on to our next Sapphire Steel wheel, we've got Isabel. This deck running 3 copies of the Lucky Dime. That's some lucky dimes. 3 copies of Tamatoa with this same limited item package. We are seeing the 4 Quill and again an additional dime. But yeah, maybe this is just fine at higher counts with even a limited item package. I know Flavisham works fine with limited items because again you're recycling. I need to try it myself before I can fully judge. But I would have thought that if you're running this many counts of Tamatoa, you'd want others. Like maybe Heart of Tafiti or Magic Golden Flower, but no, but seems this is fine. It's done very well. Only 3 copies of Hook. We're running 4 copies of Cinderella Knight in Training. When you play her, you can draw a card and discard a card to help us find key pieces, and a shift target for one of the 3 copies of Stout-Hearted Cinderella we're seeing. We're also seeing the 3 Hades. Again, like I said, I prefer Let It Go, but I think Hades is perfectly reasonable, especially with a 3 count of Lucky Dime, to be fair. You want more bodies. So yeah, if you're going to invest this much in Dime, then I think this does make more sense. Only 2 copies of Mr. Smee. We're going to come back to Winnie. We are seeing 4 copies of Belle, strange but special. During your turn, you're going to put an additional card from your hand into your Inkwell, so same as Fishbone Quill, accelerated ramp, and if you have 10 or more cards in your Inkwell, she becomes a 5 questing character. So if you do get to that point with 10 ink, put her down, she demands an answer, otherwise you are going to jump ahead. Flavisher for the card draw, only 2 copies of Beast, I think is fine really. We're running 4 wheel. He is going to get removed a lot. I don't think that's any reason not to play 4, but I get it. 2 copies of Gaston, only 3 Tink, lots of 3s in this particular deck. 3 Develop Your Brain, 4 Rise of the Titans, all the way in on that. I do think that's a good count for the amount of Dime, the amount of spell book for Ruby Amethyst. Just, yeah, it's going to be good to have. 3 copies of Zeus, I like this as a 3. We are also seeing the 3 Let It Go. I apologise, I missed that in my initial skim. So yeah, finding use for both of them. We got 4 Whole New World, 4 Grabbing Swords, and the item count, as I said. But yeah, let's take a look at Winnie the Pooh. 3 cost Inkable, 2/3, quest for 2, and Honeypot. Whenever this character quests, you may put a card from your hand into your Inkwell face down. So it's always that or Mickey. It's Mickey more often than not. At the end of last format, I actually made a community post saying, alright, which would you run in your Sapphire decks? Feel free to discuss your takes in the comments. I may read over them at some point. So yeah, I put out a poll between would you run Mickey Mouse or would you run Winnie the Pooh? And from 595 votes, as you can see, 76% for Mickey and 24% for Winnie the Pooh. And there are a few comments here. Most of them are in favour of Mickey Mouse extremely. A couple of them saying that they initially liked Pooh but have found that Mickey's just better. Mickey guarantees a trigger. I think this falls under I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. The payoff for Mickey is immediate. The payoff for Pooh takes longer. And if you're against a challenge heavy deck or something that runs a lot of removal, you likely only get Pooh's ability once. Granted, if they're using removal on Pooh, they're not using it on your bigger threats, so there is that. Also, Skylar Dunce, who we just looked at their deck, made a comment on this. Mickey is great on the draw when you don't necessarily have tempo to play a whole new world on turn 5. He's a relevant body and conserves cards so you can grind out games without wheeling. We've got Amber here. Mickey gives the benefit immediately. However, Pooh has the added benefit of choosing what I ink from my hand, even if it's uninkable. So as long as there's a good card draw to give lots of options in the hand, then Pooh might give you the flexibility of running more uninkables in the deck than you'd otherwise feel comfortable running because you would be able to ink them with Pooh. Still, I think Mickey comes out on top. Let's find a Pooh enthusiast. Here we go, House of Tremere. Pooh is far and away superior, unless you only want the ability to trigger once and don't mind mediocre stats. I prefer choosing the cards I ink. I also love getting multiple chances at his ability, while still advancing the overall win condition of the game. If someone uses a piece of removal on Pooh to put me a turn behind, that's one fewer removal card for them to utilise later on actual threats. As in the late game or against Mill, I'd rather have Pooh any day. I wanted Pooh to be better, he's just too slow, he has the ability to give more ramp if he sticks, but the fact that he quests for 2 puts an immediate target on him, especially because when he finally gets to quest, you're getting close to a Maui turn. And even the Forbidden Mountain content creators here, Mickey over Pooh almost all the time, unless you just need a 2-lore bear and an inkable and plan to almost never use his ability. So some good commentary there on the discussion of Pooh versus Mickey. I am on Team Mickey. I do prefer him. I just think the immediate ramp is better. You're not guaranteed to get this. And if you don't have Wheel, it's probably just going to feel a lot worse. But yeah, totally respectable. It's still doing well occasionally in place of Mickey and led Isabel to a top 8 finish. So absolutely respect it. So congratulations to them. Hey, it's the halfway point of the video, so I'm here to remind you that this channel is also sponsored by Whatnot. If you're not already a Whatnot customer, you can sign up using my link to get £10 off your first purchase. And now we go into our Ruby Amethyst lists. I'm not going to go over any of these in too much detail. I very recently released a guide to Control deck called So You Want to Play Control, where I talk extensively about the deck. So if you're newer and you're not as familiar with all these, can I recommend go check that video out and then come back and check out this one. But in top 8 we have the Rat, who is another name that we have talked about before on the channel. They made top 8 after also being first in Swiss at the Tayabisa New Year's Eve event on the 6th of January. They made top 16 with Steel Amber Songs at the online The Pack Merlin Strikes Back event. And then they made top 32 with Emerald Steel for the pack 3rd chapter. So this is a name that's come up quite a lot now. Definitely final boss worthy as far as I'm concerned. A lot of these players are. But yeah, another fantastic showing for the Rat with Ruby Amethyst. We've got 8 1-drops, 4 Olaf and 4 of the Rafiki. We've got 2 Kuzco for some card draw and being able to pressure the board a little bit more. We've got a 4-4 line of Snake and Fox, 4-4 of Goat and Rabbit. We are running 2 Stylish Surfer Mini here. Only 1 copy of Crab to boost our characters. 3 Maleficent for some more card draw. We are running the 2 Talkative Puppet, as I discussed earlier. 2 Yzma, which I think is really good in Ruby Amethyst. I did end up playing 2 Yzma in my RA list over 2 Jim, which has fallen off hugely. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Yzma. 2 Madame Medusa is also my count. I think this is enough. Although I'm running 2 Dragon's Fire, the Rat just opting for 1. 2 copies of Maleficent. Also 2 copies of Teeth and Ambitions for the aggro matchup. And can just be useful in certain board states and situations. 4 Friends on the other side. 4 Big Bear. We are running a 2 count of the Sorcerer's Spellbook. Definitely breaks the mirror. Really important card in the mirror, being able to see this before or at least as well as your opponent. So yeah, 2 count looks good. 2 Maui's Fishhook. Really good for opposing evasive. And again, another way that we can hit bigger numbers. So probably a reason that you can justify a lower count of Crab. And just 1 copy of the Queen's Castle. I get it. I ended up running just 2. I nearly ran 0. But I ran 2, and I was glad I had the 2 in my deck that I did. But yeah, I think either none or 1 or 2 is perfectly fine for this. It's so situational. It can be really good. But yeah, I'm done with my 4 count of Queen's Castle, as good as it can be. But yeah, fantastic. Well done to the Rat. Next up in top 16, we've got Simon opting for the 4 1-3s and the 4 Chernobog's followers instead of the Rafiki. So prioritizing the deck thinning and the drawing. 3 copies of Kuzco, 4 Snake, 4 Fox, 4 Rabbit, 4 Goat. 3 copies of Stylish Surfer Mini. Also 4 copies of Maleficent, which I do like. I only ran 2, and there were times I wish it was more. Especially for the mirror, you need to be able to draw more than your opponent does. No Crabs in here at all. 3 Mini, as I said. This deck is running 2 copies of Jim Hawkins with the 4 Queen's Castle. In my video, I was literally just plugged talking about my control deck. This was my this was my lineup, although I was also running 2 copies of Aggro Bar, which have also dropped, but I think it's fine to play. But yeah, like, I think this is the only Ruby Amethyst deck that is running Jim Hawkins, so says a lot about him, but still putting work for Simon, so not a dead card by any means. For Maui, we are opting for a 4 Tremaine count with 2 Medusa. That's a heavy count of ladies in red. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I've made my stance clear on this. I think a high count of Medusa is important. I think I am going to move towards running maybe 1 Tremaine. I think for the Sapphire Ruby matchup, the amount of times they drop, like, they can have no board and they just drop Gaston, or they just drop Tamatoa, and they don't often play a lot of characters to go with it. So I do think Tremaine is going to start to rise in. You're going to see her a bit more, I think, as a result of the red-blue decks. 4 is a lot, but top 16 for Simon, 2 Maleficent, 4 Friends, 4 Be Prepared, and as I said, the 4 Queen's Castle. But yeah, deck looks good. Congratulations to Simon. Next up in top 16, we've got Makoya. I hope I'm saying that right. Choosing just to run 7 1-drops, 4 Rafiki, 3 Olaf, the 2 Kuzco here, the 2 Talking to Puppet Pinocchio, the standard bounce cards, 2 copies of Crab, 2 Maleficent, 3 Mini. We are seeing 1 copy of Prince Eric in here, 4 cost uninkable, 2 quest for 2. When this character is banished, you may banish chosen character. Yeah, I've talked about this card a few times. Like, he's good, but I often find him way too slow. I think if you're running Teeth and Ambitions, there's more reason to put him in, which they are running 2 copies. But yeah, I think 1 is fine. You've got 15 uninkables total. That should be fine. So yeah, fair enough if you like the Eric. Run 1, especially with the 2 teeth. For Maui, 1 copy of Yzma, the 3 Medusa here, 2 Maleficent, just 1 copy of Spellbook, 3 copies of Queen's Castle. Again, a lower count. I respect it. 2 Fishhook. Yep, that's good. Good old-fashioned Ruby Amethyst, but with some Prince Eric spice. But congratulations to them. Next up, we've got Jeebus, which is another name that we have talked about in the past. Made top 4 at the 178 player, the pack 3rd chapter. That's literally the last tournament that tier hosted, the first tournament of the new meta. Made top 4 in that with also Ruby Amethyst. And I can see on inkdex.com here a collection of other top placements in other tournaments. So yeah, another player to certainly pay attention to. Opting for 8 1-drops, 4 Mini, 4 Rafiki, the 2 Kuzco, the 2 Talking to Puppet here, the 4 line of Mims and Merlins, although only 2 Crab, 3 Maleficent, extra card draw. I think this is the magic number of Maleficent, I agree. 2 Yzma, 3 Madame Medusa, no Tremaines, 2 Maleficent, 1 Dragon's Fire, the 1 Dragon's Fire slipping into more and more decks, 2 Teeth and Ambitions, 4 Friends, 4 Be Prepared, also the 2 Spellbook for all the reasons I highlighted before. Just important to see this before your opponent, or at least at the same time as, because one copy, you're not going to see it consistently enough in the mirror, and it really just does break the mirror. 2 Fishhook, and just the 1 Queen's Castle. So yeah, congratulations to Jeebus on another great showing. And our last Ruby Amethyst list in top 16, we've got Inkwell Gamers. Fellow content creators will be linked below. Opting for 8 1-drop, no 1-3s, 4 Rafiki and 4 Chernobog's followers. So all offensive and draw. Fair enough, I respect it. Like, you're going to be sad sometimes against Steel, especially Steel Amber with the turn 1 Cinderella. But I suppose outside of that, it's... Yes, but really, I suppose, like, because there's not a lot of Steel Amber, I mean, there's a lot of Steel, so they can still play those cards, but really it's only them doing a turn 1 Ballroom Sensation Cinderella and then turn 2 Let the Storm Rage On, which feels really bad a lot of the time. So yeah, I think this is probably something to pay attention to. 3 Kuzco, the 2 Talkative Puppet, the 4 Snake, the 4 Fox, 2 Crab, 4 Goat, 4 Rabbit, 2 Maleficent, 3 Yzma, large account of Yzma, I don't disagree, really strong card, 2 Medusa, 4 Maleficent, all the way in on the Monstrous Dragon, again the 2 Spellbook, the 2 Queen's Castle. We're seeing a trend here. All low accounts, 4 B Prep, 4 Friends, and 2 Maui's Fishhook. So yeah, congratulations to Inkwell Gamers. And now the last 3 decks to look at, all different in colours, which is really refreshing. In top 16, we've got Benjamin with some Sapphire Amethyst. Samethyst. So yeah, all of the draw that ever did was, because Flavisham yeah, he is here. I thought he wasn't there for a second. I was like, what? Yeah, Flavisham alone could put in so much work. But yeah, we've got the Friends, we've got the Rabbits, we've got Maleficent counts here. Again, we're seeing the 4 Rafiki and Chernobog's followers. Yeah, cool. I quite like it, actually. Like because these are going to do more a lot of the time. Do more than the 1-3 a lot of the time. The 1-3 is just good for the Steel Amber matchup, really. There's other niche moments against any other steel deck. Like later in the game, you'll be punished for not having a 1/3. But yeah, I like this. 4 snake, 4 fox, 3 crab, 4 goat, 4 rabbit, 4 Grand Martala for additional ramp, 3 Mickey for ramp, Flavisham as I mentioned for the card draw, 2 copies of Cogsworth, just an annoying questing card, and resist 1 is good. 2 Gaston, 2 Yzma, 2 copies of Elsa, Spirit of Winter, 8 cost uninkable, 4/6, quest for 3. Deep freeze. When you play this character, exert up to 2 chosen characters. They can't ready at the start of their next turn. Yeah, one of the best cards we've had since the game came out. Just haven't seen her as much this format. Not because she's bad, just prioritising other card slots, more so for Ruby Amethyst, but for Sapphire Amethyst, then you'd absolutely have a counter this as one of your bigger beat sticks with a fantastic ability. So yeah, love to see it. We've got 2 Queen's Castle and 2 Mukduk Manor. So yeah, looks really good. I really like Sapphire Amethyst. I'm definitely keen to try this out, this format. So yeah, congratulations to Benjamin. Next up, we've got Dennis with some spice. I know someone else that played this deck at an event over the weekend. I'll talk more about that when we cover that event. But that person described this deck to me, although theirs is a slightly different build, but similar. The Ruby Amethyst Slayer. So yeah, we are an aggro deck. So we've got 4 copies of Maleficent Biding Her Time to quest for 2. We're running 4 Olaf. Again, just the stat line's good against the steel decks. And again, we want 1 drops to get our bounce stuff online, like Snake and Fox. We've got a 4/4 Robin Hood line, 4 Kuzco all the way in, 4 copies of Pinocchio Star Attraction, who quests for 3, so another aggressive quester, but we're also seeing his Floodborn, who pops up from time to time, and I'm always happy to see this Pinocchio. I like him. I need to play this deck, man. 5 cost uninkable, 3/3, quest for 2, shift 3, and listen to your conscience. When you play this character, you may return chosen character or item with cost 3 or less to their player's hand. I mean, I bet this annoyed some Fishbone Quill players, right? Like, surely. I mean, maybe they've already got the value. They put it down, they immediately exert it. Next turn, you return the Fishbone. Okay, I'll ink this now. I don't know. It depends if they needed that item to be their Flavisham food. It's definitely a line that at times is going to be annoying. But yeah, I really like this Pinocchio on the run. 2 copies of Smee, again, a great stat line and aggressive quester. 4 copies of Arthur, Wizard's Apprentice, 3 cost uninkable, 1/3, quest for 1. And Student, when this character quests, you may return another chosen character of yours to your hand to gain 2 lore. So again, we've got bounce cards like Rabbit and Goat who are going to benefit from this. We're keeping our lower cost characters safe, like the Pinocchio and the Maleficent. And hey, if you return the Pinocchio that shifted, you return both of these cards to your hand. So yeah, Arthur's still really strong. 1 copy of Benja for the item removal, respecting it. And then our Bodyguard has 4 copies of Hercules with a 3/3 stat line, 3 cost and quest for 1. And the Prince also a 3 cost, a 1/3 stat line, so it doesn't hit as hard, but quest for 2 and has the resist plus resist 1 ability. So keeping our aggressive characters safe. And 2 Sorcerer's Spellbook. Yeah, this looks disgusting to go up against with Ruby Amethyst, because what they got for you besides like Pinocchio, I know a couple are playing like a 2-drop of Teeth and Ambitions, but they're not all running them. I wasn't anyway, so I would struggle against this deck more. And I think this deck probably was on a couple of the Ruby Amethyst players' radar as a reason to play Teeth and Ambitions, because it's going to have a good Ruby Amethyst match. It's just going to outpace them massively. So yeah, deck looks really good. The Ruby Amethyst Slayer. I'll be interested to see how they did in their actual final run. But yeah, nonetheless, top 16 in Swiss. So congratulations to them. And lastly, my favourite deck of the lot, 100%. We've got Brennan, who is another name that we have spoke about, as they were the winner playing Steel Amber Songs of the last The Pack online event, the first tournament of set 3 meta with 178 players, and yeah, they won the whole thing with Steel Amber Songs. So definitely another name to keep an eye on, pay attention to, and have a look at this deck list 100%. And this time they chose to play Amber Ruby Mufasa. What a stud. So yeah, Mufasa, if you're not familiar with the game, 5-cost inkable, 3/3, quest for 2. When this character is banished, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you may play that character immediately for free, but enters play exerted. If it's not a character, put it on the top of your deck. So we can miss. We have 1 Be Prepared, which I think is fine. This is still a really strong card, so you're going to get value from this. And 4 Lanterns to make our characters all the cheaper. So hitting this is never going to feel bad and feel great. But we've got a lot of characters that are going to feel great to hit. We've got 1 copy of Chernabog here as well, who is a 10-cost uninkable, 9/9, quest for 3. For each character in your discard, you pay 1 less ink to play him. And when you do play him, shuffle all character cards from your discard into your deck. And this deck does go through a lot of character cards. It's very mid-rangey. And even if your opponent is shutting down your plays early, then they are flooding your discard and making this cheaper to play, and you're just going to recycle all of that. And hitting this off of Mufasa's got to feel so good. We've got 4 copies of Maleficent, which is obviously a fantastic card and going to be great to hit. We're running 1 copy of Maui Whale. We saw this recently in a couple of Ruby Amethyst lists. None of the Ruby Amethyst lists that we just looked at were running this, but this deck, it makes a little bit more sense just because of the potential Mufasa hit. And this thing can just clear boards. It can just clear boards. It can Be Prepared. It can go into locations and then ready up and still keep challenging things. So yeah, in this deck in particular, big fan of this. We're going in reverse, but why not? We've got 4 copies of Carefree Surfer Stitch, 7-cost inkable, 4/8, quest for 2. And when you play him, if you've got 2 or more other characters in play, you draw 2 cards. Card draw is one of the things that this deck does struggle with, so this really helps. 3 copies of Mana Medusa for the removal. We notice no Tremaines in this list. Pay attention to that. For Maui, going to be really important. Running a 4/4 Queen line, who I was never a big fan of in my Mufasa decks. But I respect Brennan as a deck builder and a player, so there's definitely going to be interactions where this is going to help a lot. Like, good for taking out locations, and yeah, like I've always, just being able to manipulate strength and hit bigger numbers is inherently good. So yeah, fair enough. The 4 Mufasa, as I said, the 3 Prince Eric. I think this is the perfect home for a high account of Eric, 3 or more, so you'll love to see it. But some absolute spice here. We've got firstly 4 copies of Tinkerbell Generous Fairy, 4-cost uninkable, 1/4, quest for 1, and make a new friend. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a character card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So it's a built-in Be Our Guest. So it's card draw. You're nearly to miss to hit like 4 of your non-character cards. I think those odds are going to happen so little that it's never going to happen. It's not going to matter in the long term. But yeah, it's card draw. It's finding you more pieces, and card draw is what this deck struggles with. Helping find the key character that we need. Maybe we really need the Maui or the Medusa or the Stitch, or whatever it might be for whatever the board state is. And the 4 willpower is nice. Again, it still gets banished to things like Along Came Zeus, but it's out of range of a lot of common characters which can only hit 3. Does get banished to Fox, which is unfortunate, but still, the 4 is going to be relevant in some situations. But we're also running 3 copies of Peter Pan Neverland Hero, 3-cost inkable, 1/3, rush, quest for 2, and over here, Tink, while you have a character named Tinkerbell in play, this character gets +2 strength. So if you have this a copy of this Tink in play, then this becomes a 3/3 character with rush that's inkable and can then quest for 2. So that in itself is really good. Hey, if you're running the 4 Tink, which I think is not something I imagined myself adding to this, but I get it. I absolutely get it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this edition. If you're running this anyway, then Peter Pan's not bad to run. And hey, he quests for 2. That's not insignificant. It's not like he's Mini who has evasive, but again, and to be fair, the rush just hitting for 1 against aggro is going to be okay in some situations. They're running 1 Queen of Hearts, who's going to be good for the aggro. So it's just another character that can help you with that in the first couple of turns of the game. Probably not your preference play, but it's something. 1 copy of Hades with the Well of Souls. When you play this character, return a character card from your discard to your hand. I always like at least 2, so you can have the option to loop them. But hey, we're playing a lot of extra uninkables with these 4 Tink, 3 Eric, the Chernabog, 4 Lantern. Yeah, it's 17. Yeah, I think personally I would like one more Hades in here, but again, I trust Brennan, so definitely was enough for them on this day. 2 goes a Pongo, 3 cost, Inkable, 3/2. Once per turn, you can pay 2 ink to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, put it to your hand. So just more card draw. Doc, really strong character in this deck, serves a similar purpose to Lantern, but on a body. Whenever this character quests, you can pay 1 ink less for the next character you play this turn. So if you hit one of these on turn 2 or 3, or even both, either or, then you have turn 4 5-drop open to you, which a lot of the time will be Mufasa. Sometimes you'll need it to be Maui to respond to the board. Or to be fair, just turn 2 Lantern gets you turn 3 Tinkerbell or turn 3 Prince Eric, which is really good. So yeah, nice to see the Lanterns make the way back into Mufasa decks. 4 Mother Godfall to work with Rapunzel to be a card draw engine, and then just 1 LeFou, which it seems a bit random, but I mean, hey, if you hit it off of Mufasa, if you had other characters that were exerted, then you keep them safe, and hey, just re-ready the whale, if you can't necessarily afford the ink but you want to use him again. And yeah, just re-readying characters is strong. It looks a little random, but I trust Brennan. They're a good player, they're a good deck builder, and it's not bad, like it's gonna have usage. So yeah, overall my favorite deck that I've looked at today, so yeah, huge congratulations to them. And that is it for the top 16 deck lists for the latest online event hosted by the pack. This video's definitely run really long. But yeah, I think that's a pretty healthy looking meta, to be honest. Again, at time of recording, I still don't know what the final results were, but you'll have seen it. I would have, when I'm editing later, I will know and I will put that up. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Again, thank you to Tia Beastie and all her team. Congratulations to the top 16. And yeah, I think the meta's looking good. And like, I think you're going to see a lot more Sapphire Ruby. I think that deck should have a really good Ruby Amethyst match in general, and yeah, I'd like to see some more Steel Amber songs, and that Mufasa deck looks a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana, hit the like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.